Today we're discussing a growing sector of strength and conditioning, and that is working with tactical personnel. Now, this is the sector that I've been working in the past few years, and I'd love to share with you some of my experiences of the differences between working in the athletic setting and the tactical setting. Physical fitness has long been a large component of military cultures, sometimes with fantastic results and sometimes with less than ideal results. Now, tactical also extends beyond the military to police, fire, and EMS. Really, any job that's going to put their personnel potentially in a physically demanding or dangerous position at a moment's notice. In recent years, many of these organizations have turned to civilian assistance to help build safe and effective fitness plans. While many of the strength and conditioning principles used in the tactical setting are very similar to those used in other settings, there are some substantial differences. At its core, tactical strength and conditioning remains performance-based, but rather than training for an athletic competition or an athletic season, the focus is on the individual or the group's ability to do their job day in or day out, or to prepare for a deployment that's going to last probably 9 months. On top of their daily duties, many of these individuals must also pass a routine fitness test. Passing this test not only allows them to keep their job, but scoring high often contributes to having a higher chance at a promotion. When we conduct a needs analysis, we look at both the demands of the job as well as the demands of the fitness test. Now, in an ideal world, the fitness test would reflect the demands of the job. But in reality, the needs of these jobs can change and adapt faster than the regulation that determine these fitness tests. Often we end up preferencing the duty needs for safety and longevity in the field, but we can't completely forget about these fitness tests for the sake of morale or leadership requests. And we'll go more into morale and leadership in just a minute. When looking at duty needs, strength is typically highly ranked in the needs analysis. So often we're going to program resistance training 2 to 3 days a week. This is going to start out with some sort of mobility for warm-up and then a strength-based movement like a squat or a deadlift, followed by a couple supersets of auxiliary movements. Now, these auxiliary movements may be common hypertrophy movements that we see in most gyms, but they also may move into more of those athletic movements, such as plyometrics or agility. Anaerobic conditioning, or repetitively completing high-intensity movements, is also a common task within these populations. So sessions will very often end with some sort of conditioning circuit, be it fan bike rotations, prowler or sled work, carries, or stair sprints. So far, this probably looks very much like an athletic development plan, but this is where things start to change. While most athletic development plans focus on anaerobic conditioning, tactical personnel typically have some sort of aerobic test to complete during their fitness examination. Most of these are going to be between 1.5 miles and 3 miles at the end of their fitness test. Many must also pass a run or ruck standard depending on their branch of service or specific job. Some even have to pass a swim standard. As a result, typically 2 to 3 days of their programming is going to incorporate some sort of aerobic conditioning. Aerobic conditioning can be incorporated into their training plans a few different ways. Sometimes it's before or after a strength training session. Other times it's on its own separate day. Many tactical personnel are required to train 5 days a week with their unit, so different units are going to have different strategies on how to incorporate all of their fitness needs into these sessions. This is where coaches must work closely with command teams to ensure all of the unit's needs are met, but also to manage volume and safe progressions so that the tactical athlete is trained effectively but not overtrained. Many units will also incorporate a combat or tactical day to work on real-life scenarios. These days are usually completed in uniform kit or turnout gear and double up as some sort of conditioning day. Now, this volume and progression management get really interesting when individuals in the group have goals outside of their current position. Some simply enjoy working out and compete in bodybuilding, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, or community sports leagues. As coaches, we have to manage the biases and preferences that they bring to unit programming. For example, if it's their day to have an influence on unit programming, their love of arm day may not be appropriate for the needs of the unit. Others are training for schools or to be higher level operators. These individuals often need greater levels of fitness than the groups that they are part of. Often we work with these personnel individually to create plans that build upon what the unit is already doing. This way, they can remain with the unit for group training, but also be prepared for their future goals without overtraining the individuals in the group who don't have those same goals. While administrative personnel still need to pass a certain physical standard, the demands of their job are just not going to be as high or as extreme as those trying to reach a selection. Mental resilience and mental toughness are often included as part of physical training. While it's important in sports as well, there's no option in a tactical setting to be pulled out for a few plays to gather yourself. Stress management techniques, mindfulness, and scenario-based training are often incorporated to help perform under pressure. This may come from a unit's leadership, a strength coach who's been trained in these techniques, a cognitive specialist, or sports psychologist, depending on the makeup of the fitness team. Now that we've talked about the similarities and differences in the training itself, let's talk about the planning and implementation. Now, this can vary greatly depending on the type of unit and the command team that the coach is paired with. In most cases, it's very different than the typical athletic setting where the coach is almost in complete control of the planning and implementing or coaching of the workout sessions. With fitness being so ingrained in military culture, it's very difficult for leadership to give up any control of physical training, especially to a civilian that they do not know. For many strength coaches entering the tactical setting, the first few months is solely focused on building relationships with their command teams. There is a lot of learning for both the coach and the leadership team to figure out what each other can do, what the expectations are, and what that partnership is going to look like. Many coaches fall into more of a consulting role to start with, and as that trust is gained, that shifts more toward that traditional coaching role look. Others are able to pretty much enter and start coaching immediately. It's my opinion that in this setting, having people skills is one of the most useful tools to have to be a successful coach. Having these skills is crucial to building trust. As that trust is built, most units will be more willing to listen and accept what coaches have to offer. Then we need to address morale. Morale and training are so closely interconnected with these units that whatever the outlook that unit brings to training is certainly going to impact the effectiveness of the training. Some units will look at group training solely as maintenance and just kind of slough through the workouts. Others love what they're currently doing and don't want to give it up, so it becomes a bit of a give and take scenario with them. While it may be too much of a morale killer to completely remove their hour-long arm session, getting them to hit a few sets of deadlifts or incorporate some rows to balance out the shoulder health may be a big win. Yet others love to incorporate what we've come to call suffer workouts for group bonding. While these can have their place, without proper scaling, these can be very discouraging for those who already struggle with fitness, especially if the high flyers in the group are not encouraging with those less fit. This is where exercise education comes in. Many strength coaches in this setting end up being tasked to develop courses to educate leadership on exercise practices. These are going to be based on the needs of a unit and can vary greatly, but ones that I've seen include basic anatomy and physiology, programming and scaling of workouts, coaching techniques, and even injury prevention. And if you want to learn more about conditioning, click here. In the meantime, like, share, and subscribe to the Iron Darling for more strength and conditioning content. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye!